And
Yeah.
not sure. Made in.
He's still alive.
Stay straight up. Needs me. Forgot to ask.
Does each judge have their own? And when two flags are together.
Yeah.
Well, it was. No, and. Somebody else was moving things, so we didn't put.
So it's the last game of the year.
Roseanne's going to look into.
Yeah, I know.
I understand. Well, that's usually like one way. It was like, private.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please call the roll.
Supervisor Quigley,
Here.
Councilwoman DeGroot is excused, Councilwoman Hayner,
Yeah.
Councilman Van Cleef.
Here. Thank you very much and welcome to the Town of Ulster Town Board meeting for Thursday, May 15th, 2025. Safety announcements. Please note the exit signs that are lit over the doorways. If there's a necessity for evacuating, please follow directions of those that are in charge and exit the building in an orderly fashion. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? No.
None for me.
Okay, I have one which is in relation to an agenda item. It's an authorization to the supervisor to sign a change order, closing out the contract for TU 233 with Arrow Construction, saving $20-some thousand under the contract price for the non-use of an allowance. We do want to move.
I was gonna say, we're gonna move the ambulance up to new business.
And we're moving the ambulance up to be in front of the public hearing for the ambulance district. So at that point, I will open the floor to public discussion on agenda items. There's a Mr. Robicheski.
Thank you. Regis Obajeski, 170 Ledge Road, Town of Ulster. I prepared a statement that a few days ago before I understood that there was an item on the agenda in the under old business, the first item. So it relates to that, but the thoughts were of a previous one, so I'll just proceed here. I wish to discuss some lingering thoughts on the ethics of a brief agenda item from the April 3rd board meeting that had a big effect on some of us. Item 6 under new business, that meeting was billed as a hiring announcement of a part-time payroll clerk rather than as an item reserved for a full board vote. Listening to the recorded proceedings, beginning with minute 25 on the time clock, Supervisor Quigley said he was simply informing the board, ostensibly allowed by law, to have Margaret King, his sister, return and resume her role as secretary to the supervisor. He further clarified that she will start April 8th on a part-time basis, but mostly perform the duties of payroll clerk for $35 an hour. Although I do not know the current disposition of this hiring, at least then, I do appreciate this opportunity to be heard regarding my disconcerting impression of the striking conflation of roles of secretary, payroll clerk, and sibling that appears both financially nettlesome and, much more importantly, professionally unethical. The town budget for 2025, approved last fall by the town board, contained a line item for a payroll clerk who would work 20 hours a week at the hourly rate of $26.70 an hour, somewhat less than the $35 an hour the supervisor intended to pay his sister. If she were continuing as secretary to the supervisor, her hourly rate would have been $27.72, according to the 2025 town budget. The reasons for this discrepancy should have been presented and discussed publicly. Additionally, the position of payroll clerk should have been advertised to engender fair competition, and it should have logically involved the town comptroller as the one to initiate and recommend the position. Perhaps that last step did occur, but it is not obvious from available information. Nevertheless, the appearance of impropriety is stark. That is, selecting a family member who, along with the supervisor himself, would exclusively manage the town's payroll without reassuring transparency and objectivity of proper checks and balances. Such an awkward system is too cozy for comfort. Again, I'm addressing not the fact, but the impression of ethical impropriety that is in play. Our town code of ethics in section 22 is very clear that a town employee shall not, by his conduct, give reasonable basis for the impression of influence, favor, or that he is affected by kinship, rank, or position. This same section addresses the construal of provisions that the code's pronouncements are, quote, in addition to any other expectations for town officials, unquote. The New York State Office of Comptroller offers such other expectations for town officials in their model code of ethics for municipal government that is quite detailed on the provisions of nepotism. Section 14 states, quote, no municipal officer may participate in any decision to appoint, hire, or promote relatives for or within a municipality. I am in no way pointing a judging finger at the goodwill and the hard work of Peggy King, but supervisor of our town should have known better than to put her and our town in this awkward position. Furthermore, this issue may have already been properly settled and is now behind us. Maybe not. It remains incumbent upon our supervisor and this town board not to allow these and similar unethical appearances and budget digressions to become our reality of doing business. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Obuchewski, and I would ask you to expand your research to include the employee handbook of the town of Ulster. Are there any other comments? Mr. Iannotti?
Good evening, lady and gentlemen of the board, Madam Clerk. My name is John Iannotti. I live in Sunrise Park. For purposes of context and full disclosure, I have been attending town board meetings for roughly half a century. Additionally, I have served on the town board, and I currently serve as the first vice chairman of the town's Republican Committee. Tonight, I'd like to briefly address the issue of the board vacancy, the last agenda item. Our friend and former councilman, Rocky Secreto, retired from public office at the end of February of this year. 2.5 months have passed and his seat remains open. Frankly, the basis for the board's inaction is difficult to appreciate. Some say that the board is functioning well and that their dynamic should not be upset by the introduction of a new councilman. At least one member believes that the board should not pursue a replacement, leaving the decision to the voters in this coming November's election. My rejoinder is that these arguments are insubstantial, imprudent, and that they leave the good governance of the town in peril. The voters have already spoken. They have chosen you and invested in you the powers and responsibilities of council members. Among your charge is the ethical mandate that the board be fully complemented. Life happens. Illness, family problems, issues at work, vacation. It is not unreasonable to imagine 2 members of the board being absent from the meeting. Should that be the case, there is no quorum. The board cannot meet. The board cannot act. As town boards were intended to be energetic, working dependably and regularly for the good of their constituents, they were intentionally organized as odd configurations. This would facilitate the formation of majorities. Boards are meant to act. With 4 members, the possibility of faction, of a 2-2 tie, is a lingering threat. Should a tie occur, this board can meet, but this board cannot act. This past Tuesday, 2 evenings ago, the planning board meeting had a very full agenda. Many of the proposals were large in both scope and significance. They are likely to prove controversial. The county planning board may well articulate strong objections to these site plans. For the town to override this veto and move the projects along, a supermajority is required, an occurrence perhaps impossible to reach on a board with only 4 members. Bear in mind that between this evening and the November balloting, there will be 6 workshops, 5 monthly board meetings, numerous committee meetings, and hundreds of pleas and petitions from town residents and businesses. Town laws and resolutions will be proposed, contracts negotiated, new employees hired, and a budget assembled. Filling the vacancy will bring aboard new eyes and ears with which to perceive the temper of the town. It will seat someone with unique experiences from both work and life. It will make the board more flexible, more attentive to the concerns of its constituents. It will enliven discussion and debate, and almost certainly impel the board forward to act. The Republican Committee has recommended for your consideration a very strong candidate. Other parties may have offered alternatives. I request only that tonight, for the good of the town, you come together and fill the seat. And I thank the board for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments on agenda items tonight? Ms. Sanders?
Members, Town of Ulster resident. I wanted to speak to the Whitestone agenda item tonight. I know it's more of a procedural vote tonight, is my understanding, but figured I'd still read my comments as we get closer. It sounds like within 60 days, this will come up for a final approval vote. So off we go. 1 page. We'll read fast. Dear Town of Ulster Board, 2 days ago at the Town of Ulster Planning Board meeting, Whitestone developers mentioned that they received a no impact letter from the State Historic Preservation Office. What they didn't mention was that it was conditional. A pre-contact indigenous site was indeed found with possible arrowheads and other archaeological finds, and the local Native American tribes were contacted about it. But as long as Whitestone agreed to avoid it with a 50-foot buffer, the tribes agreed to sign off. Given that Lightstar Renewables SHPO report also found arrowheads on their adjacent property, what will this ridge be? It sounds like a gerrymandered historical district. One cannot segment these projects. Did the Native Americans stockpile their artifacts in just 2 little spots? No. This is not a no impact, and it puts a lot of faith in the future residents of the property that they'll honor these sacred sites and respect the buffer zones. Also, what was the real reason Whitestone and Lightstar lowered the number of townhouse units and solar panels? Was it because of this? So in addition to the archaeological findings of resulting traffic jams, the cumulative impacts of environmental air and wetland issues, and the deforestation, this flies in the face of our town's comprehensive plan recommendations. No one local can afford to live there. Hundreds of community members have signed in opposition, including members of Town of Ulster's most notable families. But I'd like to add 2 more faces to the record, if I may. This is Senator William Dugan, and this is Harrison W. Rogers. These are former residents of Wolf Rock Hall, the white mansion slated for demolition that sits above Adams Fairacre Farms on the project in question, that has slated for demolition and has been a defining feature of the town since 1890. And if anyone else would like to read my history, you can go to esopuscreekneighbors.com. Senator Dugan was the first person to introduce the Equal Rights Amendment in New York State in 1922. It took a century to pass. This man risked his reputation to fight for women's rights, workers' rights, and he marched along with suffragettes and labor unions. He also introduced countless projects and legislative bills that New York benefits from today, including building all the outer borough bridges that connect New York City, and that Wall Street brokers should need to be licensed to handle your money. He also voted against the motion picture censorship bill to protect free speech. Ever heard of the talkies in film? That's because of Harrison W. Rogers. He was a brilliant inventor with 17 patents that have allowed us to have movies with sound. Given our area's film industry focus, it's quite an incredible coincidence. He was compared to Thomas Edison at the time, and that he actually out-invented him. He wrote a book that academic institutions across the country have digitized for their rare collections. And he was a vaudeville performer that worked with Harry Houdini. Both of these men made our country, our state, and our town a better place. They were beloved by this community. And these are just 2 of the history-making Wolf Rock Hall residents that lived there over the years. Thanks to former Town Ulster Councilmember Mike Berardi, who connected us to Rogers' descendants, we now have new information that warrants us reopening our application for a historical landmark designation. Now, the owner would have to sign off on that, which seems unlikely, as is his right to make as much money as possible from this sale. But if he had the desire to work with the community and to leave a legacy for generations to come, I'm 100% certain within a short time, we'd raise that money, probably more than his asking price, in Historical Society grants and public donations to preserve the only history the town of Ulster has left. Don't demolish an entire town's historical record with these ridge projects. The saying goes, a generation which ignores history has no past and it has no future. Please consider that as you weigh your final approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments on agenda items here tonight? Seeing none. I move for, okay, I'm sorry, come on.
I'm sorry, I just decided to talk. So I want to kind of piggyback.
Your name, ma'am?
Amy DiChiara, Ulster County resident. Piggyback off of Caitlin's remarks. So I think, at the end, we've been here, we've talked, we've sent letters, all that has been done. I think unfortunately, decisions were made before we even came to this point. I'm just gonna say how I feel. I feel that Lightstar came up here, they were so assertive that they were gonna get this project. Because I think they already been granted it some way. I just think these deals were done. I think that all this, us coming here is been hopefully helpful, but I feel it's fallen on deaf ears. I think that plans have been made, things are just gonna be put forward, and that's it. And it's unfortunate. I agree with that other fellow too that said we need a new board member with new ideas, new wisdom. You know what? I agree with that 110%, because I don't think you're advocating for us at all. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? No comments? Thank you. On our agenda is the approval of the April workshop meeting and the April town board meeting. May I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I make that motion. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is communications.
One communication this evening, it is a letter we received from town resident Frank Almquist to Frank Petrimo. Frank, I use Hillside Terrace to leave Beth Drive both directions, Lynette Pearl and Miller's Lane. There is a four-way stop on the Pearl Lynette Hillside corner, but at Miller's and Hillside, only a two-way on the Hillside connection. Then at Hillside corner, when way too many drivers come flying across Miller's Lane through the intersection with very little regard to who is waiting. Hillside has a lot of walkers starting at 7 a.m. Very few folks walk Miller's Lane as it appears narrower. There is a four-way stop at Miller's and Holiday that is really useless. Keeping the Holiday stops would be good, as the stop on Hillside for Miller traffic is needed. I would appreciate you looking into this when you get a chance. Thank you, Frank. So he's requesting a stop sign at the corner of Miller's Lane and Hillside Terrace.
I would like to make a request of the chief of police to put our speed trailer up there to aggregate additional speed and volume data before we ask the highway superintendent for a recommendation after he reviews that data. Board, okay?
Okay. Yep.
Mhm.
I'll go with that.
Thank you. Abstract of claims,
Yes. All right, so our total is $770,448.86 for the month of May, or ending in May 2025.
Make a motion to be approved.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 7:20 on the clock. We had a 7:10 public hearing and we rearranged the agenda. So I will make a report on the April activity of Empress under the ambulance contract with the town of Ulster. There were 272 dispatches that were serviced, whereas a total of 273 in total. That means they called for mutual aid on one call. And this is important because we are here today with this contract because in January and February, the percentage of missed calls by our service provider was approaching over 10%, meaning that they were dependent upon outside agencies to provide ambulance services to the residents of the town of Ulster. The town of Ulster Town Board entered into a contract with Empress where we pay them $1,265,000 a year for the permanent placement of 2 ambulances at the Lake of Train base on Route 9W, 24 hours a day. And they are using those ambulances to exclusively service the town of Ulster and the town of Kingston, which is a participant with the town of Ulster in this arrangement. Tonight's public hearing is to gather public comment on the town's creation of a new taxing district solely associated with the ambulance contract. And this is being done to remove the ambulance from the general fund budget and make it transparent to the community so that you can clearly see the revenues in and the revenues out as it relates to the provision of ambulance and emergency services to the town. So with that, I ask for a motion to open the public hearing and accept comments.
I have that. I mean, I approve that.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a comment here tonight, please come to the podium.
Let me ask a question.
Yes, you can.
So if you open a new tax Laura Hartman, if you open a new tax district, how does that work? What does that do for us in paying our taxes? Is there just taxes that are specifically diverted to that?
There will be a separate line item on the tax bill identified as the Town of Ulster Ambulance District, just like there's a tax line on the bill for Town of Ulster Library District.
Mhm.
And you'll see in our annual budgets, revenue in from taxes and expenses out for the service. And that translates into what comes back on your tax bill.
Good idea.
Any additional comments? Ma'am?
Good evening. My name is Alana Badgley. I'm an Ulster County resident. I'm also a paramedic at Empress, and the president of IAEP Local 20, which is the union that represents all the EMTs and paramedics at Empress. And I wanted to come here tonight to specifically thank the town for investing in us, and to put a face to the actual people that are out there working and really appreciate the opportunity to be invested in and to be able to serve this community. I wanted to put that face out there for everyone to see who it is that the town would be investing in. And I also kind of compiled some numbers for you all to understand that. Right now, we have 55 members who are employed and working within the county. Not all of them are working on these particular ambulances. Some of them are doing blended, they're servicing Health Alliance Hospital. But of those 55 members, the total combined years of service is 448. So that's a few centuries worth of EMS experience, and that is in some ways quite an anomaly in the EMS industry right now, where we have a very high turnover rate because we're often not invested in by towns and by municipalities. In Ulster County, the 12 of our active paramedics, myself included, I do have a 6 a.m. shift here tomorrow. We have more than 10 years of experience as paramedics. And the 5 most senior paramedics who are serving have between 24 and 38 years of experience. The 5 most senior EMTs have between 13 and 20 years of experience. So the folks that are showing up when you call 911 are highly experienced and professional. In addition to that, and I know that some of the numbers sound scary, but what those numbers are doing is they're directly investing in strong union jobs and careers for EMS professionals so that we can stay in this field. Recently, I ran some numbers just on the wages of those working for this particular contract, based on their hourly wages, based on their healthcare costs, and based minimally, we didn't even include overtime in our calculation on that. And just the payroll alone at base is costing Empress about $1.7 million a year. So you can see that because of the economy of scale, that what the town is putting in could be directly translated just into an investment into us. And I know a lot of times in the public record, there's some perception that by working for a private company, you're just giving away cash to a private entity. But really what's happening is that this is the only EMS only union shop in town where the company is giving back to people like me so that I can live here in Ulster County and afford to raise a family and afford to do those types of things. So I just wanted to express my gratitude, put a face for everyone out there into what it is that you might be investing in. And thank you for being the first town in conjunction with the town of Kingston to invest in us in this county. So thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
for coming
it.
tonight and sharing it. Do we have any other individuals here tonight, Mr. Kitchen?
Dear Mr. Quigley, town board members, I want to thank you so much for putting this together with the EMS service. Means a lot to me. September 2015, I had a massive heart attack. Late at night, it was about 11:30 at night. And I'm very fortunate to have our Ulster Hose responders were the first to reach my house within minutes. But it wasn't shortly after that EMS services arrived and delivered life-saving measures to me. On the way to the hospital, I passed away and died 4 times. They brought me back to life. When I got to Kingston Hospital, they knew that they couldn't sustain me, so I had to be moved to Vassar Hospital that evening. The EMS workers stood by and they left Kingston Broadway Hospital approximately 1 o'clock in the morning and had me down to Vassar in 13.5 minutes flat. And I couldn't thank them enough. And I spoke to them afterwards and thanked them for saving my life. And they said, "Sir, we saw what we saw your willingness to survive. We wanted to do everything we could to keep you alive." People don't realize until you're in that situation of crisis and your life is being sucked out of you. You have 100% blockage in your main artery, that it's only seconds away from dying. And the reports that have had coming out the last couple of years about not having EMS services and response times is scary. This is something that you can't put a price on. This is something that this community needs. And like I said, you'll realize it when your life is being taken from you. And I just am so happy that we finally reached an agreement here tonight. We're gonna reach an agreement, whatever. Thank you very much again.
Thank you. Do you have any other comments on the public hearing? May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will accept written comments to the town clerk's office for up to 30 days from the closing of this public hearing. The next process would be to bring the matter back before the town board with a resolution to create the district. We would then have the plan, map, and report validated. We would pass the resolution, pass the town law creating the district, and then forward it to the Secretary of State for filing. And at that point, we would have our district, which would then be responsible for the ambulance contract going forward in 2026. Thank you very much for your input tonight. Moving on to new business, the first item on our agenda under new business, Ms. Reevy, it's the presentation and acceptance of the town clerk's monthly report for the month of April 2025. Is there anything in the report that you would like to call to our attention?
No.
May I have a motion to accept the town clerk's report as presented?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a presentation and acceptance of the supervisor's report for the period of April 2025. We are now back on track to making presentations on a monthly basis. Our computer systems are fully functional and we're able to now put these reports out. As supervisor, there is nothing in this report that I would like to call to the attention of the board, but I know that there's certain things that are moving through the system that will be there in the future that we will call to their attention when we get there. May I have a motion to accept the supervisor's report as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
One thing I would ask is that, as you talked before in committee, that you would work on a.
Year-to-year comparison. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the presentation and acceptance of the annual financial report filed with the New York State Office of the State Controller. The town supervisor has, under town law section 30, an obligation to provide the town board an accounting of all the financial activity in the town for the prior year. At the organization meeting, the town board passed a resolution agreeing to accept the filing of the AFR as that report on behalf of the supervisor for his accounting. That report was finished by our external auditors on May 3rd, distributed to the town board, and I ask for a motion to accept it under the filing responsibilities of the supervisor.
I make that motion.
Second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item comes about from a discussion that was held at the last meeting. It again is in relation to the installation of a stop sign. I'd like to have a motion authorizing the installation of a stop sign at the intersection of Stickles Terrace and Gallows Hill Road.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Petremont.
Yes.
On the matter of the next item, which is a capital purchase by the Highway Department, the floor is yours.
We're requesting a purchase of a new trailer, replace one of the ones that we currently have, that's seen some better days. We're purchasing it from a local dealer right in town. Pretty much it.
And it's within budget.
Yep, it's a capital purchase, so it's in the line item.
May I have a motion to authorize the highway superintendent to purchase the trailer?
I make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a motion to authorize the salary for Peggy King as the part-time secretary to the supervisor. Under town law, Section 2915, a supervisor of a town of the first class appoints a confidential secretary, the duties of which are assigned by the supervisor. The town board's responsibility is to fix the compensation for the position in a reasonable amount. Two prior individuals that were full-time individuals in this town retired in the last couple of months. This town board authorized them to come back as part-time employees at the rate of $35. And they was approved by this board. In this matter, the town board has been asked to approve $35 an hour based upon precedent, based upon 6 job descriptions that were provided to them in a memo. And I will say that at this point in time, this arrangement will not be lasting very long. So I ask for a motion to authorize the salary.
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
How long do you anticipate if you're making that statement?
Well, based upon Mr. Obujeski's statements, I say 24 hours. She's not very happy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The item that has been added to the agenda is a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the change order number 1 for contract TU 233, Harold Construction. This is to close out the construction contract that the town entered into with Harold Construction. In that contract was an allowance line item for rock removal, which was not utilized, and the money is returned to the town. So may I ask for a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a motion to authorize the payment of payment application number 6 in the amount of $98,895.90 to Harold Construction for contract TU 233. This is the final payment under the contract. As discussed at the last meeting with the water superintendent, there are certain, what I will call bells and whistles, that he would like to add as far as computerized controls and other appurtenances to the tank, which were authorized for him to move forward. So it'll probably be 30 to 60 days before we can report to the community on a final closeout on this project, but we are under budget we will not be drawing the full $500,000 from Ulster County on this. So may I have a motion to authorize the payment?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next four items came out of the planning board meeting Tuesday night. They are not, and I stress, they are not approvals of the project. These four items are procedural in relation to the seeker process, which is the State Environmental Quality Review Act. It is the obligation of the town lead agencies, whether it's the town board or the planning board, to follow state law and evaluate the impacts. And these processes that we're going to vote on are part of that. First item is a resolution adopting Part 2 EAF, which is the environmental assessment form that was submitted to the planning board and reviewed, and requesting that the applicant to prepare the EAF Part 3 for the Route 9 W multifamily development 1530 Route 9W Lake Katrine project P 954, section block and lot 48.8-1.110 and .120. May I have a motion to authorize the applicant to prepare and submit EAF Part 3?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is in relation to a project that has come before the town board before. It was originally a single structure on a single subdivided lot containing 4 units. It has been revised to be 2 structures that are 2-family each. So therefore, there'll be an additional subdivision of a lot. The town board has the obligation, as the project is over 2,500 square feet and requires a special use permit, to be lead agency here. So the resolution is to declare lead agency, intent to be lead agency by the town board for an unlisted action, referring the application to all interested and involved parties, and authorizing the referral to the Ulster County Planning Board for the Pinsetter Apartments at 644 East Chester Street in Kingston, project 969, section block and lot 48.58-7-20. May I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. As part of this resolution, I ask for a motion to set a public hearing on the matter for the next town board meeting, which I believe is June 6th, 5th
At 7:10.
at 7:10. May I have a motion on the public hearing? Second,
I'll second that.
all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, the Town of Ulster Planning Board has received an application for a battery energy storage facility on Hurley Avenue. This is going to be a long lead time item. It is a complicated project, and seeker will be kicked off with the declaration of the town's intent to be lead agency. So I ask for a motion to accept the resolution as presented.
Make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The final item out of the town planning board relates to a 14,000 square foot sales building that is being proposed to be added to Camping World at the site of the Campers Barn property on Route 28 in the town. The resolution is an intent to be lead agency for an unlisted action. It's to be submitted to all interested and involved parties, and also authorizes the referral to the Ulster County Planning Board for Campers World, 12124 Route 28, Kingston, New York, project 964. May I have a motion to accept the resolution as presented?
I make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, at the annual organizational meeting, we lay out the scheduled meetings for the year. And in January of this year, the third Thursday fell on June 19th, which is Juneteenth, a federal holiday. We are proposing to move that meeting to the Wednesday before June 18th. And also, it is normal and customary, we only have one meeting in July, which is usually the third Thursday. But we have been requested to change that meeting date from July 17th to July 24th. Do we have any discussion? Any dissent? Okay, may I have a motion to change the dates of those meetings?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And the last item on our scheduled agenda for tonight is the appointment of a replacement town board member. It is my privilege to make a motion to appoint Michael Schatzel, a local contractor and longtime town resident and businessman, to the Town of Ulster Town Board, to fill the vacancy till the end of the term, which will be November. Will be impacted by November's election. The term will end in December.
Could you read the resolution?
Yes, I will be glad to. Whereas there exists by operation of law a vacancy on the town board of the Town of Ulster due to the resignation of Councilman Rocco Secreto. And whereas the position of councilman is a four-year term which expires on December 31st, 2025. And whereas pursuant to Town Law Section 64, subsection 5, the Town Board of the Town of Ulster, by a majority vote thereof, has the authority to appoint a qualified person to fill the vacancy in an elected officer until the commencement of the calendar year next succeeding the first annual election. And whereas the town board has considered candidates for appointment and has determined that Michael Schatzel is well qualified to serve as a member of the town board, and whereas the town board finds that appointing Michael Schatzel will serve the best interest of the residents of the town of Ulster by ensuring continued effective governance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Ulster hereby appoints Michael Schatzel to the position of town councilman, effective immediately, to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Rocco Secreto, and to serve the remainder of the unexpired term ending December 31st, 2025. Be it further resolved that Michael Schatzel shall have all the rights, responsibilities, and duties of the office of town councilman, including participation in all town board meetings and decision-making processes. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to provide notice of this appointment as required by law. May I ask for a roll call vote, please?
Well, you need a second first, no?
You're gonna second?
I'll second.
We have a second.
Supervisor Quigley.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeGroot is excused. Councilwoman Hayner.
Yes.
Councilman Van Cleef.
I don't use it.
I am confident that Mike Schatzel is the man that is a proven member of our community, and he is a valuable citizen. I think it's to be noted that the only way to successfully make this nomination was to reach across political party, because the Republican Party needed the vote of me as a non-enrolled candidate to make this work. I have no problem doing this because I am confident that Mike Schatzel will, as he has promised, be a councilman for all members of this town. So I vote yes.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our scheduled agenda for tonight.
Next, may I ask you to be sworn in now, please? Is that possible?
Are you ready? Could you be ready?
Yes.
Okay, please.
Let me just grab the, Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Michael Schatzel,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of town councilman
the duties of town councilman
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Okay. Hey, you can't go sit down now. You sit up here.
Mike, I need another trailer.
You can open with a motion to adjourn if you like.
That would be wonderful. I'll let you be the first person. That's good motion to adjourn when you ask for it.
But we are at a point in the agenda where we open the floor to public comment
Good try though.
to any individual here tonight who wishes to make any comments to the town board on any matter. Ms. Frederick,
Hi, I'm Mary Jo Frederick, I live in Glen Area Boulevard. This is more of a question. We had a tremendous amount of rain. A number of people lost their docks. And people are saying that it's because they also did a release from the Ashokan, and I'm just trying to get clarity on whether that is true or false. Would you know that?
the interim release protocol requires all releases to be stopped once the Mount Marion gauge reaches action scale, action stage. Okay, the water that came down the last 5 days is the water that came over the spillway. Okay, which was not controlled by anybody. Releases have been reinstituted as of, I believe, 36 hours ago. Under the protocol, the first layer of release, given that it were past May 1st, is 15 million gallons a day. 15 million gallons a day would not take anybody's dock out. 15 million gallons a day doesn't even make it past the flats in Marbletown because it sinks into the ground. They have increased releases over the last 24 hours to 300 million gallons a day in 10 million gallon per hour increments in an attempt to get the reservoir to stop spilling and to create a void for the rains that appear to be coming in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Okay, now, I know it's on your mind, so I'm going to anticipate the next question. 338 Glen Area Boulevard. We had a meeting.
Can I be released on?
Oh, you can go sit down.
I wasn't gonna ask you a second question.
But
Thank you.
I can see everybody sitting on the edge of their seat, want to come on.
I don't know if I want to be up here.
Update, please.
Yes, I'm going to give an
On
update.
your meeting, week ago Wednesday, I guess?
Yes. The meeting between the town and Mr. Viviani, his architect and his attorney did not go well. It was hostile. Mr. Viviani walked out. Mr. Viviani fired his attorney the next day. The town is continuing to move forward on a corrective action. And that is as much as I want to say.
That's it.
That's as much as I can say.
Okay. All right, so, but you are going forward.
Yes, we are going forward.
That's not stopped because he walked out.
That is correct.
All right. Any time frame?
You will be contacted soon.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions here tonight? Any other comments from anyone? Mr. Molinaro?
Good evening, congratulations. Matt Molinaro, back again to express appreciation and thank you to someone who deserves it. And to give some background and understanding to everyone that may have questions, concerns, or flat out issues. I'm here tonight as the Chief Shop Steward for the Town of Ulster employees who are represented by Laborers Local 17, which include the Highway, Water, and Sewer Departments, their rank and file, and some employees from the Town Hall, Building Department, Assessor's Office, and Justice's Office. The position I hold is appointed by the Local 17 management team, and its function is to help mitigate employee-employer situations with the help of the elected department shop stewards and management, and most importantly, to make sure the employees are getting the best they can from the town, its leaders, and its employees, make sure our voices are heard. I am here to do just that tonight, to offer a few words of support for Peggy King as I see her. But I do know that most of, if not all of my colleagues would agree and have the same thoughts. Starting a few years before my employment and now continuing over the past 14 years that I've worked for the Town of Ulster, Peggy has had involvement in the daily operations in the supervisor's office, town hall, and she has also been a liaison with department heads, clerks, and other office staff in each department to help make sure that each department can thrive, have necessary equipment ordered, make sure duties are complete and projects are successful. You really could say she is the cornerstone of the town hall and a large part of the backbone of this town as a whole. She is a constant go-to for several issues with the Local 17 employees and other staff throughout the town. She's a wealth of information on town policies, procedures, operation, contracts, and employee information. An email, phone call, or text is always answered or returned in a timely fashion with an answer or a way to get the answer. While Peg helps to handle so much business in the town, to all the employees, Peg's most important job is payroll, making sure that the employees get paid on time, and paid correctly are important, and her hard work, dedication, and precise calculations to payroll goes unnoticed by many until every other Tuesday when checks arrive and everyone appreciates her and knows that she was involved. She makes sure that employees are able to receive an accurate paycheck, make sure overtime rates are correct, healthcare rates are deducted properly, and any other kind of deductions and deposits each individual employee chooses to have is processed. Peg is my personal go-to for any kind of help with questions about employee time off, benefit eligibility, or paycheck situations. Peg is dedicated to all the employees. The new employees, when they are hired, they are made sure they have all their new hire packets and everything is correct. She makes sure to get the employees enrolled in New York State deferred comp if they choose, as well as making sure their healthcare benefits are squared away and making sure they're enrolled in the New York State retirement system. To the current working employees, she makes sure payroll is correct, holding allowances are completed, and always a helping hand if needed. To the employees that are ending their careers with the town, she has sat with several of them for several hours and gone over their options, their money situations, their money problems, and the benefits that they should be getting from New York State and from the Town of Ulster once they retire. And for the completely retired employees, she still has to monitor certain aspects of their benefits on a weekly basis. Peg is much more than a payroll clerk or secretary. She is a friend, a good coworker, and a dedicated employee. When news came out that Peg was retiring, there was definitely concerns by many, most importantly myself. And while it's true that everyone is replaceable, someone else can always do their job, and that their job will be posted before they leave, losing an asset like her is a real issue for the supervisor's office, the town hall, to all the department heads, the employees, and the town as a whole. We all knew that we would seriously miss her and there would be several issues arising with her without her in her office. So when news arose that she would be sticking around for a while, a relief was felt by many. This town is lucky to have her, needs more of her, and will definitely miss her when she does decide to finally retire. Recent trends in most communities, including this one, and really the world as a whole, have had tendencies which are becoming the new norms to stand up for, protect, or see the views of those who don't deserve it, don't appreciate it, or are just plain bad people. Where have the times gone for standing up for the good people, respecting people, listening to people, understanding those people, or appreciating those good people? While everyone is entitled to their own positions and feelings, where do we as individuals or groups get off feeling as we are the only position or the only feeling that matters? It's all about give and take. Who do we think we are that we feel we can attack one, belittle someone's character, talk down to them, because that's how we feel, especially when those same people we would take great offense to us doing that to them. We need to get back to worrying less about this and more about more, if that makes any sense. So for those employees, local leaders, or community members that choose not to get to know and appreciate PEG or people of the same character, or feel that they are here for their own personal gain or reasons you all feel is different than you do, I feel that you are missing out on something special, someone special. You're misunderstood, you're misunderformed, and you are on the same type of mission that you are accusing others of doing. Thank you for listening.
Do I have any other comments here tonight? Ms. Hartman?
I just would like to say welcome to Mike, and glad that the seat is filled. I'm speaking as the chair of the town, the Democratic Committee, and wish you well. And we have always felt that this chair needed to be filled, so I just wanted to say thank you and welcome, and I welcome the opportunity to get to know you.
Any other comments here tonight? Mr. Schatzel, you privilege of your first motion as a member of this board.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting tonight.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? All right, thank you very much.
I'm loud, and then I shock everybody when I use it.
First time a town board member.